smoke is quieting down. Seems like we've got to a lot of the smoke. Dub, you got smoke?
Yeah.
Outrage marketing works on us.
That's a really good point.
I don't think black people buy American Eagle.
No.
But it makes white
It
people.
makes us talk about it.
And
we react and we get on cameras and do all of this and we boycotting and they're racist. We bring attention to it where other people might even miss it.
And then the Fox News viewers who hate our outrage.
It's tricky because I feel like sometimes you'll do the work for these people. Like, and I told you that with the fucking CNN shit. And this is one of those examples again. Like, this is the most I will talk about American Eagle for the next 3 years.
That's
right.
my point.
He doing that here because he can't do nowhere else.
Yeah, I know.
We let you do it all.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know Mel million years. I know.
Accept it, nigga. We didn't accept you as a Piers Morgan to the hey Piers. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime girl.
You know how like Ian walks around like making like jokes and he'll jokingly hug us, but we know he's not making a pass at us.
If Ian come kiss you on your head, what you gonna do?
Where are we in the contract season? I need a few more questions answered.
All right, y'all. We are back with the files. And listen, this one right here is a little heavy. All right? I'm going to just keep it real. This one is a little heavy. Now, Marc Lamont Hill, he got at me recently on the Spaces on Twitter. You know, I got that clip on my Patreon. If you want to see that, you guys can check it out on the Patreon. But let's get into this Let's get into this in these clips right quick, right? But this all has to do with each other a little bit, right? Let's get into it because something ain't sitting right. Is Marc Lamont Hill secretly doing the work for the white man? Is he? Is he low-key doing the work for the white man? Because Joe Budden seems to think so. And the reason, right? It all started when Mark brought up the American Eagle ad controversy on the podcast. Now, before we deep dive, ask yourself this. Who benefits when black outrage becomes viral currency? Who is cashing in when we react? Right? Let's break it down. Now, on the episode, Ice wasted no time checking Mark. He told him flat out, outrage marketing works best on black folks, on us. Why? Because we're the ones reacting the loudest. And every time we do that, boom, sales skyrocket. The same day that American Eagle ad dropped, their stock exploded. Is that a coincidence? Nah, that's strategy. Ice basically said, yo, every time we hop on camera and give this energy to these brands, that's exactly what they want. They want our outrage, our shares, our posts, our clips. And when we feed into them, they feed their pockets. And here's where it gets real spicy. Joe Budden stepped in and said he wouldn't even mention American Eagle for the next 3 years. That's how disgusted he was with the manipulation. And you gotta wonder, would Joe have even let this topic cook if it weren't for Mark forcing it into the convo? Here's a deeper question. Is Mark using the JBP platform to push narratives that benefit corporations or agendas that don't serve us? I don't really think so, but that is a good question to put out there, right? Now, Flip and Imani, they may tend to think so. I don't know, but they may tend to think so. They both pointed out that Mark couldn't say this type of stuff on CNN or any other mainstream media platform without it being heavily filtered. But when he's on the Joe Budden podcast, he lets it all fly. Why is that? Right? And then Flip dropped the hammer. He claimed that the black community never fully accepted Mark. Now, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. Now, Mark said he is getting looked at differently now that he's on the pod. You know what I mean? It's a different conversation with him and black folks. So, you know, Flip leaned in on that and it was like, yo, you know, the black community never fully accepted you. Right? And basically he said that Mark was tap dancing on the Piers Morgan show when they had Myron and Lily up there. The cast, they was laughing hard, but buried in that laughter was a grain of truth that can't be ignored. Then Ice hit Mark with he hit Ice with that, then Ice hit Mark with that question. If Ian kissed you, what would you do? And Mark, without hesitation, he joked, depends on what part of the contract season we're in. Everybody laugh, right? Ha ha, key, right? But that could be seen as coon behavior. But let's pause right there, right? Didn't we just finish critiquing American Eagle for irresponsible representation and pushing questionable imagery for shock value, right? So now it's okay to play the same card just because we're the ones holding the mic? This is where it gets murky because on one hand, Mark wants to hold brands accountable, right? He wants American Eagle to be more mindful of using stereotypical blonde hair, blue, like the stereotypical blonde hair, blue-eyed model. Cool, valid point, right? Mark, I agree with you on that, right? They was wrong, irresponsible marketing. Cool. But shouldn't that same level of accountability apply to our own words? Especially on a platform that's supposed to speak about our culture or the platform that's for the culture, right? Here's where Mark tends to pivot, right? This is what Mark will say. He'll be like, "Oh, it was just a joke." Or Mark will try to say, "Oh, why can't we take a joke?" Or why does everything have to be about race? I can see Mark saying all three of those things, trying to jump out of accountability, right? Right? And just like that, the accountability would disappear, right? Because that's how Mark be moving. Now, Joe, however, he wasn't letting that slide. And clearly, I'm not letting that slide too. You see, we got the files. He flat out said Mark might be working for these people. And listen, that's a heavy accusation, right? But hey, we're going to get to the bottom of it, right? And Flip added fuel to the fire by saying Joe is more pro-black now, especially since spending time in South Carolina with his family. And honestly, Joe has been solid with some of these takes lately. I'm rocking with him, all right? You feel me? Now, the real question is, can you truly serve two masters, right? Is Mark trying to serve two masters? Can you march with the people on Sunday, then soft shoe on Piers Morgan on Monday, right? Can you say you stand for black integrity, then joke about kissing your white boss depending on the contract negotiations? Because at this point, Mark is walking on a tightrope, and it's starting to look shaky. You feel me? You walking on a tightrope, Mark, right? Do you guys think Marc Lamont Hill is using the JBP platform for clout or corporate messaging? Was Ice out of line for calling Mark out, or was it necessary? Should outrage marketing even be something we entertain anymore, or are we just feeding the beast? Right? Now, is Flip wild for calling Mark a tap dancer? I don't think so. Or did he say what we all been thinking? And seriously, if Ian kissed Mark, and Mark let that happen, and I see that, I bang with Ian. But if you let that happen, that's crazy. That's crazy. I ain't letting him kiss me. Man, we were just talking about American Eagle. We ain't gonna be out here doing that, man. The streets need answers. The pod is getting hotter by the week. And Mark, he might be the smartest man in the room or the most dangerous. Or a little, you know what I'm saying, off for the white man. You know what I'm saying? Stay tuned, and we'll be back with the files.
My guy Dub, too. That's my man, though.
Gang.
That's my man, Big Dub.